Welcome to Homegrown, the show where we introduce you to the people and stories that shape the character of life in Arkansas. I'm Dawn Scott, and today we're rediscovering those tucked away places that make Arkansas more than just a location on the map. With their warm histories and open arms, these unique communities know what it means to call a place home. We'll go back in time to Depression-era England, Arkansas, when a group of hungry farmers got the attention of the unlikeliest of American heroes. Then we'll visit Clarendon, where a hometown hero decided to come home and give back as only he could to the community that raised him. We'll remember an iconic country music joint with a lasting legacy in North Little Rock, and we'll head to the town of Fordyce, where a Friday night can only mean one thing. But first, let's head to Grady, Arkansas, where a family has been bearing fruit in the Delta soil for 50 years.
I'm Logan Duval, and this is Good Roots. Markets are just part of the story of agriculture, and for some farmers in the Delta, it's taken some very special characteristics to get here.
Let's fill it up.
Fill it up.
The more the better. I'm Abraham Carpenter Jr. I'm the manager of Carpenter's Produce Farm, located in Grady, Arkansas, Lincoln County. I've been managing the family business ever since I was 12 years old. My dad and the rest of the family, they entrusted me to do it, and everybody just kind of fell in line. Mama originally started with 1 acre of land. She made more money off the 1 acre of land than my dad made working all year long at the lumber company. He said, well, now, if you're gonna make that kind of money, I'm gonna quit my job and I'm gonna grow produce full time. My major crops are greens, cantaloupe, watermelon, peas, okra, yellow squash, zucchini squash. We grow some of the biggest, the sweetest watermelons in the whole United States, maybe even the whole world. I don't know, but I know they're sweet.
Is there anything that brings people together like a watermelon?
Man, I'm telling you.
Hot summer day.
Good watermelon, good cantaloupe, and blood red.
Blood red.
Hey.
Is it sweet?
Hey man, I'm telling you, you want to get a taste and you tell me how you like it there.
Is this the ticket?
That's the ticket, man. I'll tell you, it's nothing better than a good sweet watermelon.
There's nothing
Nothing, man.
Watermelon's kind of been good to you. The produce business is it's a business.
We grow about 250, 300 acres of watermelons every year. People love to get those good sweet watermelons. And I know you know about watermelons. You can see the sugar in that watermelon, man.
Sugar. Just dripping off.
That's the sugar, man.
I think the specialty aspect where y'all made a pivot back away from the commodities and into produce.
Yeah.
That's a business decision.
Well, that's true, brother. My dad them initially started growing cotton and soybeans, went broke doing it. So we kind of regrouped and started growing produce. Been doing it for 50 years. Been real good to the family, man. Raised 5 brothers, 3 sisters, and 28 nieces and nephews
28 nieces and nephews.
On the farm.
On the farm.
And everybody was able to live a decent, comfortable life.
Watermelon is absolutely amazing.
Well, thank you, brother.
Let's go see where they come from.
Let's do that. I tell you, we got a field full of them, too.
When Abraham was 5 years old, he was a leader then. I was bossy, he was bossy. So we just combined that bossiness together and made it happen. Want to cook Daddy some of these?
Yeah, I think we should.
I am Abraham's baby sister. I work here at Carpenter's Produce and Fish in Pine Bluff. Okay, no pickles. All right, Mr. Brown, thank you. I started working when I was 7 years old. It was a lot of us, and everybody got their own little different attitudes and all that, but we made it all come together. Everybody had a purpose, and we all mixed it up together and made one big family. That's how it worked.
This is definitely legacy. You got the baton when you were 12 years old.
I did. That baton is going to my children, my nieces, my nephews, grandchildren. We've taught them, we prepared them with the ability to plant the crops, to grow the crops, produce it, market it, and send it out to the stores. We've done all of that, and we've built them faith from ground up.
Thank you very much.
20-some years plus back, there was a lot of discrimination inside of USDA. We had prior lawsuits filed against USDA for racial discriminations. The attorneys came down from Washington and they presented it as you join the lawsuit, you get $50,000 and your debt relief. $50,000 didn't mean a whole lot, but the debt relief would have been major. Some of us got to $50,000 and no debt relief whatsoever. It was a big letdown for many farmers. That's the reason 20-some years later, you know, we were still fighting to get the right things done, just to be treated fairly. I'm really happy that the legislation passed, and it's going to benefit a lot of farmers. The only thing that breaks my heart is the fact that so many others have passed away, you know, and without being able to realize this come to fruition. You know, my mother, she passed away in 2017, and before she passed, it wasn't a day that went by that she didn't ask her, Junior, how the lawsuit coming along? Is we gonna get any relief? I said, Mama, it's coming. So she's looking down on us from heaven today, but Mama is here.
After spending time with y'all, the theme of family and hard work and faith is everywhere. You're the next generation. What's the future look like?
I plan on going to college and majoring in chemistry, learning about the chemical compositions and things like that. Being here and not just learning from someone else, but coming outside with Dad at 6 a.m. and we're in the fields and we're looking hands-on, and it's a different experience.
It is. So you might be a little bit of the anomaly that you're not wanting to run away from the family business and be a part of it. So what do you think the difference is there for you?
It's the people that you meet and they come back and they're like, we took it to the family get-together and everyone enjoyed it, or we had it at family time on Tuesday night. You have an effect on people's lives. It's more than just growing it and shipping it off here. You get a connection with those people and they come back and they tell you the effect that you had on their lives.
That's beautiful. Thank you. I'm so excited to see what the future holds for the Carpenters.
Yes, sir. It's definitely bright.
It is, yes.
From the watermelon fields of Grady to their storefront in Pine Bluff, the Carpenters have been a part of Central Arkansas for generations now. And for a family so closely tied to a place, it's near impossible to imagine it without them. Whether it's the big city or a small town in East Arkansas, there's no place like home. Former New York Jet Cedric Houston recently returned to Clarendon to coach on the same field where his storied career began. Let's check it out.
When I came to Clarendon, I was like, there was like a great person that walked these halls and that actually had a chance to go to college from the offer here, and that was Cedric Houston.
He's a legend. Best running back come out of Clarendon.
That's actually what encouraged me to be a running back. It was said like he had the most rushing yards. He scored the most touchdowns. So it was like, so now that he's coaching me, I'm gonna try to beat his record.
When I heard like a legend like Cedric Houston from Clarendon High School, a small town, I actually jumped for joy. Why in the world is Cedric Houston coming back to Clarendon, Arkansas? It's a small town, and he was away from here.
My name is Cedric Houston. I'm from Clarendon, Arkansas. Growing up here was probably the funnest, man, just going out, and we didn't have much to do, but we walked around town, played pickup basketball or baseball, wherever we can do that, and picked up football around the 7th grade. I started playing, and a lot of people telling me I was pretty good, and I didn't know if I was good or not. We played Barton, I think I was an 8th grader, and Frank McClellan pulled me to the side after the game. I think he's like, "Kid, you're gonna play professional football one day." And hell, I didn't know professional football, NFL. I was like, "What you mean professional?" He's like, "You're gonna play in the NFL one day." So I kind of brushed it off. I was like, "I don't know, this old man don't know what he's talking about." And then he reminded me again, my senior season when they played us. He said, "You remember what I told you in 8th grade that you was gonna be playing pro ball one day?" He said, "You're getting a whole lot closer, aren't you?" I was like, "Yes, sir." And we both smiled and walked off.
Handoff against Cedric Houston, running left. Houston.
Sophomore, junior, and senior year I started. So I started for 3 years at the University of Tennessee. I finished 5th on the Tennessee rushing list, so I was 5th all time in Tennessee rushing history, which was a huge accomplishment. So during my senior year, I was always tired. Like after a few plays, I was like, Coach, man, I'm tired. He's like, what you tired for? You're in tip-top shape. I was like, man, I'm tired. And I mean, I didn't know what it was for or from. And after that, I got invited to the NFL Combine, and they did blood work on me there, and they found out I had a hyperthyroid. So before that, I had probably a draft grade to probably second round. I'm probably gonna be a second rounder, early third rounder. Then after that, my agent was like, man, said, I don't know who's gonna take a chance on you, who's gonna draft you, if you're getting drafted. So we didn't know after the Combine. We didn't know if I was getting drafted or not. And we didn't know how serious the thyroid condition was or what I had to do for it. They just took a chance on me, and I went 6th round to the New York Jets.
To me, I think he just wanted to come back to his hometown where he get his experience to other players so they can try to make it too.
He knows what it takes to get that, so I feel like it's a good advantage.
Coming up playing football and having great coaches through high school and then having great coaches through college made you be a better man. I knew I wanted to eventually get into coaching and influence some kids. Just being in this area and some guys not having father figures in their lives, you got these coaches around that's doing the right things and may not seem big, but that's huge for guys in this Delta area and just from these areas.
He's basically a good running back, but like a father figure to me.
He teach you right from wrong. If you ain't doing your work, he'll pull you to the side and tell you what to do and like help you out.
1, 2, 3, when you get to know Cedric Houston, he's actually a good person. He knows how to do his job, you know what I'm saying? Keep smiles on everybody's face.
Take it off. He's a good old person for Clarendon. Don't tell him I said that though.
The reverence and gratitude those players have for their coach is palpable. It's clear the power that pulled Cedric Houston back home to Clarendon. Countless communities are home to notable Arkansans, adding a unique passion and personality to our state's sense of place. North Little Rock was home to one of these Arkansans for 5 decades. That's where Jimmy Doyle delivered a toe-tapping good time just off the Galloway exit.
See, when you get to be my age, I went to see the doctor, and I said, Doc, I've got a problem. He said, well, what is your problem? I said, well, I have a BM about 6 o'clock every morning. He said, well, that's good. I said, no, I don't wake up till about 7. Oh, I'm the guy that's been in country music all my put together. I was raised in below Stuttgart in a little community called Brewer Township. My dad was a farmer, and he raised about 5 gallons per acre. Everybody shout out loud. We did make a little moonshine back then. Did you ever goose a ghost and get a whole handful of sheep? Well, that's what's going to happen here tonight. Tell everybody I'm 19. That's not exactly right. He had to add a few years to that. I spent 8 years in the Navy. Every place that we stopped on a ship, I would get off and find me a country bar and play some good old country music. We're at Jimmy Doyle country. This is our second Jimmy Doyle country. Before that, we were in West Little Rock.
Southwest, yeah.
In Southwest Little Rock. And then we came over here. They wanted us to buy this building. We've been here 20 years now. 30 years, 30, my word. Well, I feel like like I said, I'm only 19. I haven't been drinking today, so I may get my words mixed up.
Thanks a lot for that big outburst of indifference. Believe me, I've got a bigger hand than upside the head.
We've had a wonderful time here, and I'll tell you what, we appreciate everybody. We get people from all over Arkansas. All the truck drivers come in from New York and West Coast, and we have a big parking lot, and we've always believed in being out of town a little ways, so we give everybody a good place to park so they can go outside and spend the night with us. A lot of them come in and spend the whole weekend, and a lot of them spend the whole week with us. We call it Jimmy Doyle Country Club, but it didn't mean to be a country club. It was Jimmy Doyle's way of playing country music. And it was my country music. And then naturally we'll put a club on it.
But I always felt he was getting so known that the name should have Jimmy Doyle in it somewhere, so we named it Jimmy Doyle Country.
I was known on the West Coast as the Arkansas Wild Man.
Oh my, let's don't talk too much about it.
No. I was more or less a stand-up comedian and played music and recorded in San Jose. Then I moved to Reno, Nevada. I worked Reno and Las Vegas with all the big stars.
Country boy can't survive George.
Nightclub business is a place where you can go in, sit down, have a drink, have a good time. You dance on the dance floor, and you always have a hardwood dance floor. You got a good band, and now you go in places, there's no tables, no chairs, everybody's standing up with their hands up, jumping up and down. I said, whoa, what is that? Because I'd like to sit down a little bit every once in a while, you know.
It's different, and you got the recorded music coming in on some of the clubs, which we've always preferred a live band over that, but it's all still good though.
Yeah.
We're probably one of the last of our kind.
Doyle's Country Club hosted performances by everyone from Carl Perkins to Alan Jackson throughout its almost 50 years in business. However, the club closed its doors a final time in November of 2021 with one last show from the Arkansas River Bottom Band, led by Jimmy Doyle himself. Small towns like Grady or Clarendon, Arkansas can seem pretty quiet. So when things do get loud, people take notice. That's just what happened in 1931 when a group of hungry farmers took to the streets of England, Arkansas. Here's their story.
In 1931, the Depression was just setting in across the South. Many Americans believed that the situation wasn't nearly as bad as it seemed. When hungry farmers in England, Arkansas took matters into their own hands, they found a hero in the unlikeliest of places.
It's incredible when you think about the flood of 1927 because it had a tremendous impact on agriculture, and I think obviously we can imagine that a big flood will kill the crops. When the waters receded in many parts of Arkansas, it left about 1.5 feet of sand. So it was impossible for them to even plant a crop in 1928, and people knew something was really wrong as early as May of 1930. And by the time we get to August, there were estimates that they might be able to make it to December, and then there would literally be a famine. Arkansans knew how to do without cash, but that making do spirit, they're running up against something that they just can't overcome.
Will Rogers was actually considered one of the first multimedia stars. He was kind of this folksy, all-shucks humorist who appealed to the common man by his attacking Congress, Wall Street, the powers that be. He was born and raised in northeast Oklahoma, just miles from the Arkansas border. He read the paper. In fact, he said, "I only know what I read in the paper." And the papers in January of 1931, from the first front page of the New York Times to all of them were talking about this food riot in England, Arkansas.
It was very hard in England to get Red Cross aid. H.C. Coney, who ended up leading the farmers, he was getting about $12 a month for a family of 7. In today's money, that would be like trying to feed a family of 7 on about $200 a month. he just hit a breaking point. He gathered up some other farmers and went to England and first tried to get more Red Cross aid. And then the Red Cross told them that they were out of the paper application blanks that they would fill out to get aid. And that was just the breaking point. In some accounts, they say they were armed. In other accounts, they say they weren't armed. They demanded food from the merchants. And the merchants did allow these farmers to get food to save their children.
For most of his career, Will Rogers was nonpartisan. He would do comic jabs at anyone, Democrat, Republican, but with what he observed in England, Arkansas, where he flew to D.C. and talked to Hoover after this England food riot, appealing to Hoover the government should do more. Hoover felt that local communities with their local Red Cross chapters, churches, neighbors, they should be the main line of response to hunger and local disasters. Will Rogers wasn't satisfied with Hoover's answer. Shortly after that, Will Rogers flew to England, Arkansas himself to observe what was going on. From there, he drove to Little Rock and got on national radio and said, I'm going to do a drought relief tour, do 50 different shows through Texas, Oklahoma, and Arkansas, actually 18 days. 19 of those shows were in Arkansas. He would do his act and raise money, and it was very successful. And also, Will Rogers really went after government policies that wouldn't allow distribution of food. There was cattle and crops raised that were destroyed. Will Rogers didn't understand what's all going on here. This doesn't make sense. For him, the England food riot did give him a personal platform of children in America starving that he could write about. I don't think the term was used at the time, but there's some people who think it was fake news. I don't think anybody denies there was a food riot, but were there hundreds or just 4 families? We're sort of all guilty of that. You believe what you want to believe, and at some point, you start gravitating to the things that support your beliefs. It makes you wonder, why did it become almost a footnote in Arkansas history and American history? Because it was so big at the time and causing so much discussion, speaking on the floor of Congress about it, and papers all over the country were editorializing on it, not just republishing a wire story, but commenting on it. And part of that was the power of Will Rogers of elevating the topic.
Belief is a powerful thing. A strongly held belief can change the world. America changed around President Hoover, and no matter how hard he believed, truth from the mouth of Will Rogers was the only thing that could help the country.
Most people are surprised England, Arkansas was once the center of national news. It goes to show when a community comes together, there is little they can't accomplish. Arkansas places are defined by a million little things. In Fordyce, it's that weekly fall tradition many communities share. The stadium lights come up and the town shuts down, and Friday night isn't over until the final whistle blows.
Friday night in Fordyce is electric.
Friday in Fordyce is special.
To me, football in Fordyce means a way of life.
Magical. You can't even explain it. As a kid, I remember you could hear the drums beating, you could hear the band, you could actually hear the cheerleaders cheering, and we would all be walking to the game, and once we heard that, we started running in that direction and get to the game before the kickoff.
The Fordyce Redbugs get set to do battle with the Hampton Bulldogs here in Fordyce on a historic Paul Bear Bryant field here on 98.9 FM, KBJT AM 1590.
All tails, we're gonna hit the ground, guys.
It's a really rich tradition here. So the program started back in 1904. A lot of people don't realize that.
Fordyce football started in 1904 at the Clary Training Academy. 1906, we played our first game with El Dorado here at home. Of course, Fordyce won that game.
Coming through the early 1900s, you get to the late 20s, early 30s, and we get to a guy named Paul Bear Bryant, and the rest is history from there.
Bear Bryant, of course, he played his football at Fordyce.
Being in a town where Paul Bear Bryant played football at, and he was the winningest coach in NCAA history for college football, that make you feel pretty special. Then we watched guys play in a Super Bowl more than once that wore that Redbug jersey.
That coaching tree was really, really fruitful in regards to the coaches this town produced. There's a lot of really impressive coaches that's come out of this town. Coach Parker, Coach Laceville.
Another strike down the left side, has a man there, number 1, Trey Hutchins catches on the sideline. It just runs down the road, the ball was in.
About 30 years. My first game was the first game of the 1990 season, and I've just missed 3 in 30 years. It's always good for a Friday night.
Everybody look forward to Friday night. The guys get off work, and man, they only have one thing on their mind: go home, take a shower, get ready to watch those Redbugs.
That to me, that's just small town football. I know there may be other places that have bigger crowds, but when you come to our place with our stadiums and the way that we are, I mean, you're right there on the field. You're part of the ball game, and you can hear and see everything.
Hey, we need to get the ball back. Hey.
During the game downtown, I think it's empty. I think everybody's at the football game on Friday night. Matter of fact, we have to make sure we got a policeman to patrol the neighborhoods, because if you want to rob anybody, you can rob them on Friday night in Fordyce, because nobody's going to be home. Everybody be at the football field. Yeah, somebody get the house broken into. After you add a story, it'll be on me.
The only red bug in the country.
Fordyce Redbugs, the story is that when they were clearing the football field, that they got infested with chiggers.
Well, I tell you, we're the only red bug in the nation. When I ordered my class ring, I never forget they was telling us, man, there's a lot of tigers and a lot of bears, but man, they had to specially make a red bug.
The red bug mascot itself kind of tells the whole story. Red bug is a small little arachnid that you cannot see with the naked eye. He's so small. But you let him bite you and you have been inflicted a wound.
Football is just a way of life here in this town and community, and it's going to continue being that way. It's not just us coming through now. We're having a really successful year, but this started long ago. We're just a part of a very special tradition.
And quarterback draw here. He's off and running.
A place can have a lasting impact for countless reasons. Maybe it's a sense of community, or competition, or camaraderie. Regardless of why a place stays with us, be thankful that we call this place our home. That's it for this episode of Homegrown. Thank you for sharing your time with us, and please take a moment to appreciate the people whose hard work has gone into making this show. See you next time.